The stars over Arcadia Prime shimmered like ice, cold, distant, indifferent. Captain Lana Verne stood at the observation deck of the Horizon's Wake, her scouting vessel tethered above the peaceful trade world that once served as a beacon of galactic cooperation. That morning, she received a routine briefing, cargo inspections, a diplomatic envoy en route, minor skirmishes in distant sectors. Nothing hinted at war. By nightfall, Arcadia was in flames. Without warning, the Virilan Ascendancy, a race of crystalline, high-caste beings long considered allies, descended from the edge of the system. Their attack was surgical. Orbital cannons struck communication arrays. Precision strike drones neutralized planetary defenses. Civilian transports were shot down as they fled. It wasn't war. It was extermination. Lana's ship, designed for exploration, not combat, barely escaped. Her first officer, Lieutenant Reyes, was killed when debris tore through the hull. Dozens of refugees were pulled aboard in chaos. Traders, miners, even a few alien civilians. As the Horizon's Wake fled toward the dead zone of space, Arcadia's final distress beacon fell silent. In one day, the Galactic League lost one of its founding worlds. No declaration, no warning, no survivors below orbit. The Council's response was chilling. Back-channel transmissions showed silence from other member species. Some withdrew forces, others severed trade. The League was fracturing under fear. Humanity stood alone, branded too dangerous to support, or too inconvenient to protect. Lana understood. The Virilan had planned this. Diplomatic manipulation, quiet infiltrations, military buildup cloaked as civil defense. They had fooled everyone. And now, Earth's distant colonies were vulnerable. Lana brought the Horizon's Wake into the shadow of Karak's Rest, a forgotten planet used as a scrapyard during the last expansion war. She had a plan: gather the scattered, arm the survivors, and strike back from the dust. Among the passengers was an old war engineer named Bran Tellisk, a half-cybernetic human who had served during the last border rebellions. He recognized the relics buried in Karak's caverns. "These aren't just scrap," he told her. "This is Tar-Core tech, ancient, fierce, and still hungry." Lana didn't flinch. "Then we wake it up." That night, as red lightning cracked across Karak's poisonous skies, the first fires of resistance were lit. Lana carved the symbol of a broken star into the hull of her ship. What would become the insignia of the Ash Fleet? The Virilan thought they had silenced humanity. But in truth, they had only given them something to fight for. Something to burn for. Karak's Rest was more than a graveyard. It was a forge waiting to burn again. Within the rusting valleys of ancient war machines, Lana Verne and her makeshift crew began building something new. The Horizon's Wake, damaged and underarmed, became a mobile command center. Scavenged hull plating, tar-core weapons, and power cores long thought extinct were wired together with ingenuity and desperation. "We're not just repairing," Bran Tellisk said, as sparks flew from a plasma arc. "We're reinventing." The survivors, dozens of humans and a handful of exiled alien engineers, weren't soldiers. They were traders, colonists, children of a forgotten empire. But under Lana's command, they trained. They learned guerrilla tactics, rigged ambush drones, and practiced zero-gravity boarding actions. Failure meant extinction. News from the galaxy worsened. The Virilan expanded quickly. 3 more outer colonies fell within a month. The League called for diplomacy. The Virilan responded with silence and more fire. Whispers spread of other races joining their cause, seduced by the promise of order. Humanity was cornered, but Lana had no intention of dying quietly. She launched the first strike from the shadow of Karak's asteroid belt. The Ash Talon, a converted mining frigate, ambushed a Virellan supply runner near the twin moons of Kuldris. The enemy never saw it coming. They didn't expect cloaked hulls, ion-tipped harpoons, or a boarding team made of angry farmers with magnetic rifles. It wasn't just a victory. It was a message. We are still here. The Ash fleet grew. Rumors spread through neutral systems. Human survivors began slipping away from League-controlled ports, drawn by pirate signals and encrypted coordinates. Old mercenaries, rogue AI, even a disgraced Argini noble in a stolen cruiser. They came not for glory, but for vengeance. But victory bred risk. A Virellan command ship, the Obsidian Voice, entered the outer rim with a war escort, tracking the Ash fleet's signal echo. Lana knew Karak's location was compromised. She made a choice: abandon the forge or stand and fight. Bran and the engineers activated what they had called Project Ember, an ancient tar-core orbital cannon buried beneath Karak's crust. It hadn't fired in 1,000 years. It would only fire once. They waited. The Virellan descended. The Ash fleet rose to meet them. From orbit, it looked like chaos. Ragged ships, mismatched weapons, suicidal tactics. But beneath the chaos was design. As the Obsidian Voice moved into firing range, Lana transmitted a simple message. We remember Arcadia. The tar-core cannon fired. A beam of pure plasma lanced through the sky, punching a hole through the Virellan command ship. The shockwave shattered its escorts. Flames scattered across orbit. Cheers rang out across the Ash comms. But Lana didn't celebrate. This is only the beginning, she said. Down on the burning remains of Karak's surface, she planted a flag. Cracked star, ringed in flame. The resistance had declared itself. The ashes of Karak still drifted through the void, a glowing testament to defiance. But defiance had a cost. The Virellan Empire, humiliated by the loss of the Obsidian Voice, had shifted strategy. No longer were they advancing slowly, absorbing colonies and dismantling infrastructure. Now they scorched. They erased. Any planet rumored to harbor sympathizers was left a molten ruin. Yet in that void of terror, the resistance thrived. From asteroid belts and nebula shadows, Lana Vern's Ash fleet launched raids with increasing precision. Every time the Virellan tried to consolidate, a reactor went critical. A command ship disappeared. A traitor whispered secrets for the price of a life spared. But Lana knew the Ash fleet couldn't win with ambushes forever. They needed a symbol, a foothold, a planet. That planet was Vestria Prime. Once a jewel of human civilization, now a fortress of Virellan control. Orbital gun batteries, planetary shields, and an enslaved population too afraid to hope. Strategically, it was foolish. But morally, it was destiny. This is where we stop running, Lana told her crew aboard the Horizon's wake. This is where we show the galaxy that we're more than ghosts. The plan was impossible, which meant it was perfect. Using stolen Virellan codes and a cloaked mining convoy, the Ash fleet inserted a ground team inside Vestria's industrial district. Among them, Bran Telesk, explosives specialist, Mavajiro, former League pilot, and an alien, Tarav, a defector from the Virellan fringe caste, who had never seen Earth but had chosen to fight for it. The infiltration wasn't smooth. Tarav was nearly killed by an auto-sentry, saved only by Bran's quick reflexes. But eventually, they reached the shield generator buried beneath the central spire. While the ground team laid charges, Lana led the Ash fleet in a false assault on the outer defense ring, drawing the bulk of Virellan forces into space. It worked too well. The Horizon's wake was crippled by plasma fire. Lana's first officer died on the bridge. Emergency oxygen flooded the corridors. The fleet was scattering. And yet, below the surface, the charges detonated. The planetary shield flickered. 1 second was all they needed. From the upper stratosphere, Mava Jiro, piloting a drop-craft jury rigged with a warp drive core, slammed straight into the generator's central node. The resulting blast tore through Vestria's command nexus and lit up the night sky with a shockwave seen from orbit. Ash fleet forces dropped like fire raining from the heavens. Rebels, prisoners, and hidden civilians rose with them. The streets of Vestria became a battlefield. Mechs clashed with street barricades. Children tossed signal beacons to guide bombing drones. And above it all, Lana, injured, breathing through cracked ribs, took control of an enemy transmitter and broadcast a message across the quadrant. Vestria is free, and we are not done. The image of the resistance flag flying above the shattered spire became legend. Across the stars, suppressed colonies stirred. The Virilan issued a new order. Lana Verne. Execute on sight. But they were too late. The fire was already spreading. The fall of Vestria Prime lit the galaxy like a flare in a storm. Where fear had ruled, now came whispers, then action. Miners on Corel the Thru sabotaged their overseers. Prison ships vanished into hyperspace, never to return. Even within the Virilan ranks, silent dissent began to spread. The myth of their invincibility was shattered. And at the heart of this firestorm stood Lana Verne, now called the Flame of Vestria. But legends don't win wars, armies do, and the Virilan Empire still had plenty. Weeks after Vestria's liberation, the Ash Fleet found itself hunted. No longer shadows, they were targets. The Empire had deployed its elite, the Ecliptarchs, commanders bred for absolute obedience, enhanced by machine symbiosis, and programmed to feel no fear. Lana's fleet couldn't hide forever. Supplies dwindled, ships faltered. A decision had to be made: go dark again, or strike the heart. They chose the latter. The target, Icaron Spire, a massive artificial moon that served as the Virilan's primary war coordination node. From Icaron, all Imperial military traffic was routed, decrypted, and controlled. Destroy it, and the Virilan fleet would be blind, vulnerable, breakable. But Icaron was more than a station. It was a monument, a fortress, surrounded by 3 defense rings and guarded by Ecliptarchs who had never known defeat. The Ash Fleet's final mission was codenamed Last Ember. The plan? Suicide. Except Lana had no intention of dying quietly. She reached out, beyond her fleet, beyond humans. She sent a message encoded in the old rebel frequencies. If you've ever wanted to be free, this is your last chance. They came. Not in great numbers, but enough. Rogue Alari starfighters, the beast-like Gurren clans in jury-rigged haulers. Even a Virilan splinter unit, disgusted by their own empire's cruelty. For once, species stood together not for power, but for purpose. The battle for Icaron was chaos incarnate. Plasma beams lanced through hulls. The vacuum screamed with dying ships. Boarding pods slammed into steel walls, and close-quarters combat raged in anti-gravity corridors. Lana and Tarav led the charge into Icaron's core. It was a nightmare of spinning AI-controlled turrets and self-healing alloy. Bran Telisk fell covering a reactor breach. Tarav was wounded, saving Lana from a collapsing conduit. At the final gate, they faced the Ecliptarch commander, a 10-foot monolith of living circuitry and void-forged armor. Lana had 1 grenade, 1 arm still working. and the will of every soul that had died to bring her here. She faced it head-on. When the explosion came, it tore through the core, igniting every linked power cell in Icaron's fusion spine. The entire moon fractured like glass under pressure. From orbit, it looked like a black sun blooming into white fire. The Virelin war fleet, now blind and in chaos, fractured within hours. Some surrendered, some fled, some were hunted down by those they had once oppressed. The Empire didn't fall in a day, but it began that day. And when the dust cleared and the survivors gathered around a broken, burning galaxy, they remembered the words Lana Verne had carved into the wall of Icaron's central command just before she set the charge. Empires burn. Freedom doesn't.